I still remember the sound of the front door slamming shut. It was the kind of sound that echoed not just through the walls of our house, but through the very core of me. I stood there barefoot in the kitchen, a sponge still in my hand, as my husband of 27 years walked out. Just like that, no long goodbye, no second thoughts, no mercy. That morning, I was folding laundry, humming a tune from the radio, thinking about dinner. By that evening, I was standing in an empty house, one that technically wasn't even mine anymore. You see, I was a stay-at-home wife my whole life. I gave up college after one semester to follow him when he got his job in another state. I raised the kids, I packed lunches, scrubbed toilets, clipped coupons to stretch every dollar. I thought we were a team, but apparently he had other plans. And another woman. When the divorce papers came, it felt like a cruel joke. I didn't have a job. I didn't have a savings account. I didn't even have my name on most of the assets. I had trusted him to take care of all that while I took care of everything else. But in court, none of that counted. What I walked away with was a car I couldn't finish paying off, a few old pieces of furniture, and a broken heart. No house, no alimony. Not even health insurance. I was 50 years old, and I had to start over completely alone. Well, not completely. My daughter Mia was 22 at the time, and she offered to let me crash at her tiny apartment. But I couldn't do that to her. She was just starting her own life, and the last thing I wanted was to be a burden. So I packed a few bags and moved into my sister's basement. It was humiliating. I was the woman who once hosted Thanksgiving for 18 people. Now I was sleeping on an air mattress next to a laundry machine. I spent days staring at the ceiling, wondering how I'd become invisible. Disposable dot one afternoon. I went to the grocery store with my last $20. I stood in the cleaning supplies aisle, ironic, right? And picked up a bottle of glass cleaner. It reminded me of how I used to clean the house top to bottom every Saturday morning. I did it well. In fact, I did it better than anyone I knew. That night, I had a thought. If I can clean my sister's house, maybe I can clean someone else's, for money. It wasn't glamorous, it wasn't a dream job, but it was something. It was mine. I took out a piece of paper, wrote house, cleaning honest and reliable, and my sister's cell number, and posted it on the bulletin board at the local laundromat. The next day, I got my first call. One job turned into two. Two turned into 5. And within a year, I was turning down clients because I couldn't keep up. But I didn't stop there. I started hiring other women just like me who needed a second chance. I trained them, trusted them, and built a team from scratch within 5 years. That little idea in the cleaning aisle became a business making over $4.5 million a year. People used to look past me. Now they ask me how I did it. So if you're sitting in your car crying after your world fell apart, if you think you're too old to start over, let me tell you something. You are not too late. You are not done. You just haven't started yet. You know what's worse than being broke? Being broke. And invisible. That's exactly what it felt like the first few months after the divorce. I was 50 years old, freshly kicked out of the life I had built for over 2 decades. My husband left. Me for a woman, half my agent. When he left, he took everything. The house, tea, the cars, even our joint savings. And there I was, standing on my mother's tiny front porch, holding my daughter's hand with a suitcase in the other. I didn't have a degree. I didn't have work experience. What I did have was 25 years of raising kids, cleaning up after everyone, and making sure dinner was on the table. In other words, everything the world tends to ignore. Until you're not doing it anymore, the shame didn't hit all at once. It trickled in. Like when my daughter asked if I wanted to come with her to her school's parent event, and I said no, because I couldn't afford gas. Or when my mom slipped me a $20 bill like I was 12 again. Or when I sat in the car crying after getting turned down for a part-time cashier job because I was overqualified but also undertrained. But one day, something shifted. I was in the kitchen wiping down my mom's counter after making breakfast. I wiped, rinsed and wiped again without even thinking about it. And she said, "You've always been so good at cleaning. You make this old house look like new." It was a compliment, sure, but it was also a spark. Because suddenly I thought, I can clean. I've been cleaning my whole life. Maybe that's not nothing. So the next day I borrowed my mom's vacuum, an old mop, and 2 rags. I walked down the street, knocked on doors, and offered to clean houses for $40 a pop. It was humiliating at first. I got doors slammed in my face. People assumed I was selling something. One woman handed me a flyer for a soup kitchen, but one older man, Mr. Raymond, opened the door, looked me up and down and said, "You got your own supplies?" I nodded. "Can you do baseboards?" "Like you've never seen," I told him. He smiled and said, "All right, Saturday morning, be here at 9. That was my first client. I spent 4 hours in his small 2-bedroom house, scrubbed every surface, dusted ceiling fans, washed his windows until you could see through them like they weren't even there. When I finished, he handed me $60 instead of $40. "You work like you've got something to prove." He said that he had no idea how right he was. Word spread. He told his neighbor. His neighbor told his daughter. By the end of the month, I had 4 weekly clients. The money wasn't much, but it was mine. It was honest, was earned with my own 2 hands. I started printing out flyers at the library. Reliable, detail-oriented house cleaning. Satisfaction guaranteed. I taped them to grocery store bulletin boards, left stacks at laundromats. I wore out a pair of sneakers in 3 months just walking from job to job. Some nights I was so exhausted. I fell asleep in my mom's living room with my daughter curled up beside me, still in her school uniform. But you know what? We were safe, we were together. And I felt alive for the first time in years. The more homes I cleaned, the more I learned. Not just about cleaning, but about people. I learned which clients liked lemon scent and which ones wanted baking soda on their mattresses. I learned how to upsell deep cleans and organize pantries. I wasn't just a maid. I was becoming a businesswoman of in, if I didn't quite know it yet. There was this moment, I'll never forget it. I was standing in the middle of a house in a nice part of town, covered in sweat, holding a toilet brush. The owner, a young woman in heels and a power suit, was on the phone talking about her new marketing director. And right then, it hit me. I had skills too. Not corporate skills, but real valuable ones. I just needed to learn how to package them. That night, I opened a Google Doc and typed out 3 words, my cleaning company. I didn't even have a name yet, it's just an idea. Over the next few weeks, in between jobs and picking up my daughter from school, I started reading every blog, article, and YouTube video I could find about small businesses. I learned about LLCs, scheduling software, pricing strategies, client retention. My head was spinning, but my heart on fire. I called my new business Fresh Start Cleaning, because that's exactly what it was for me and for every client I paid $99 to file an LLC, using money I had saved by skipping lunch for a week. I made a simple website with a free template. Weekly and bi-weekly cleaning move-in, move-out services, deep cleans, eco-friendly products. Available. It wasn't fancy, but it was real then. I ordered business cards, just 100 of them. I handed them out like candy, left them at coffee shops, daycare centers, nail salons. Anywhere busy moms might be. The calls started coming in. By month 6, I had too many bookings. To handle alone, I hired my first cleaner, Angela. Single mom, just like me. She was quiet but precise. I trained her myself, riding along to jobs for the first 2 weeks. I showed her how we did things my way. Not just fast, but thoughtful. Not just clean, but cared for. We didn't just dust surfaces. We arranged the shoes neatly by the door. We folded the toilet paper into points. We left thank you notes with a small pack of mints. People noticed we weren't maids. We were sanctuary builders. and that mattered especially to working women and moms who were drowning in chaos. We gave them back their evenings, their peace of mind, their sense of control. I raised our prices by 20%. No one blinked. Why? Because they trusted us. With every new hire, Maria, then Tanya, then Jen, I wrote training manuals, checklists, customer service scripts. I was still cleaning 3 houses a day myself. Plus scheduling, managing payroll, handling complaints. Some nights I crashed on the couch in my uniform, too tired to even shower, but I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Worth. I was building something. By the end of year 1. We had 8 part-time cleaners and over 60 recurring clients. I moved out of my mom's house into a small 2-bedroom apartment with my daughter. We didn't have a lot, but we had our own space. I bought our first company Cara used van with peeling paint. I wrapped it with our new logo and tagline, "Fresh start cleaning, come home to calm." That van changed everything. We looked professional, legit. People noticed. We got our first contract with a local real estate firm for move-out cleans. Then a property management company called Paydesoft. If you're using like a scanner app, and it's like a scanner at SAGO, AAD scanner. Like Paydesoft, like you're gonna die. Like, look at this, and we all know. I've been exploring. Then, one day, a local news station did a short segment on us, Divorced Mom Builds Business from Scratch. That 3-minute piece, it brought in over 200 inquiries. I had to hire a full-time assistant just to respond to emails. Within 2 years, we'd grown to 25 team members. I finally stopped cleaning myself. I was terrified stepping back, felt letting go of the steering wheel. But I needed to lead, to build, not just scrub. I focused on systems, hired an operations manager, moved the business into a small office space, launched an online booking system. We introduced uniforms, monthly bonuses, team lunches. I built a culture, one of respect, pride, and possibility. Most of my team were women over 40. Many had similar stories, layoffs, second chances. They didn't just need jobs. They needed dignity. And together, we built it. By year 3. Our revenue passed the $1 million mark, from a mop and 2 rags to 7 figures. Some nights, I'd sit on my porch and just cry. Not out of sadness, out of shock. How had I come from the lowest point in my life to this? I didn't have a husband. I didn't have a safety net. But I had purpose. I had my daughter. I had a team. I had a vision. And most of all, I had me. Year 4 felt different. We weren't just a cleaning company anymore. We were a brand. People knew us. They recognized the vans on the road. They followed us on social media. They referred their friends, their coworkers, even their therapists. Started getting messages not just from potential clients, but from women across the country. How did you start this? I've been out of work for 10 years. Is it too late for me? My ex left me with nothing. How did you do it? And I realized my story wasn't just mine anymore. It belonged to every woman who'd been told her. Time had passed. Who thought starting over was for the young? Who believed she had to settle for scraps? I started speaking at local women's events, not as a cleaning lady, as a founder, a CEO, a survivor. At one event, a young woman came up to me in tears and said, "You made me believe I could start again." That stayed with me. Back at Fresh Start Cleaning, growth came with new problems. We'd expanded into 2 more counties, taken on office cleaning contracts, even built out a post-construction team. Managing people was the hardest part. There were miscommunications, client complaints, missed shifts. I was no longer dealing with just floors and windows. I was managing human lives. And that meant learning a whole new skill set. I invested in leadership training, brought in an HR consultant, learned how to build processes instead of just putting out fires. We implemented software to track jobs and staff time. We created a client portal. We launched an internal referral program that actually worked. Our retention rate hit 90%, and that meant something. Because we weren't hiring just anyone. We were hiring women who were rebuilding just like I had. Women over 40. Women re-entering the workforce. Women who needed a hand up, not a handout. I partnered with a local shelter to offer training and jobs to domestic abuse survivors. Some of those women became our best employees and, eventually, team leads. By year 5, we crossed $2.5 million in revenue. We moved into a bigger office space, built a training center, and launched Fresh Start Academy, a 2-week paid training program that gave women real skills, not just in cleaning, but in communication, time management, and customer care. We didn't just clean homes, we transformed lives. One day, my daughter, now 17, came home from school and said, "Mom, people talk about you at school. They say you're a boss lady." I laughed, but it hit me hard. I had become someone my daughter could admire, not because I was rich, but because I had fought for us. And then came a curveball. A competitor larger, backed by venture capital, started undercutting our prices, poaching clients, even recruiting our staff at first. I panicked. Then I got strategic. We doubled down on quality, on relationships, on community. We ran a local campaign. We're not just in your homes. We're part of your story. Our loyal clients stayed, and new ones came. We rebranded, sleeker logo. New tagline, Fresh Start, cleaning more than clean. We launched a line of eco-friendly cleaning products. Just 5 items to start: multi-surface spray, glass cleaner, bathroom foam, floor solution, and wipes, all under the Fresh Start name. We sold them to our clients directly. Within 6 months, the products made up 10% of our revenue. By the end of year 6, Fresh Start Cleaning hit $4.5 million in annual revenue. We had over 70 team members, a fleet of 8 vehicles, 3 county territories, and one very proud founder who once stood in her mother's guest room wondering if she'd ever survive. I still remember the first home I cleaned. I remember the ache in my knees, the humiliation of starting over. I remember my daughter sleeping on a pull-out couch beside me, and me whispering, "We're gonna be okay, baby." And now she's applying to colleges, and I'm reviewing plans for our first franchise location. I'm 56 now. Some days I still feel like the scared woman who walked out of her own home with nothing but her daughter's hand and a suitcase full of questions. But most days, I feel like a woman who proved that rock bottom isn't the end, just the ground you build from. When people ask me what the hardest part was, it wasn't the cleaning. It wasn't the exhaustion or the uncertainty or the sleepless nights. It was believing that I could still be someone, that I could matter again. See, when you're a housewife for 20 years, when your name is never on the bank accounts or the mortgage or the decisions, do you forget that you have value? You learn to shrink, to accommodate, to absorb, to apologize. But the moment I stepped out of that marriage, heartbroken, humiliated, and lost, I also stepped into something far more powerful: possibility. I didn't know it then, but I was stepping into the beginning of me, and the truth is, I never needed to be perfect to rebuild my life. I just needed to be willing to start small, willing to make mistakes, willing to show up again and again and again. I want every woman watching this to know, especially if you're over 40 or 50 or 60, it is not too late. It is never too late. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are not used up. You are a story that hasn't even reached its best chapter yet. Starting a business wasn't just about money for me. It was about reclaiming my worth. It was about showing my daughter that when life knocks you down, you don't stay there. You get up, you wipe your tears, you roll up your sleeves, and you build. One client, one mop, one moment of courage at a time. I didn't build a $4.5 million business overnight. I built it over thousands of moments when I could have quit, but didn't. Moments like crying in the car after a client insulted me, Googling how to register a business at 2 a.m., holding my daughter's hand during panic attacks, knocking on strangers' doors with flyers because I couldn't afford ads, telling myself, just one more day. Just get through one more day, and now I stand in the office of the company I created. I look out at a team of women who remind me of me years ago, scared but determined, and I think, this is what healing looks like. This is what rebuilding looks like. Not fancy, not fast, but real. So if you're watching this from your lowest point, if you feel discarded, defeated, or invisible, I want you to hear me clearly. You are not done. You are not finished. You are just getting started. You don't need anyone's permission to rewrite your story. You don't need perfect circumstances. You just need to take one brave step, and then another, and then another. Because if a broken woman sleeping in her mother's guest room can rise up and build an empire with a mop in her hand and her daughter by her side, can you? Your life is not over. Your power is not gone. Your light is not out. It's just waiting for you.